In this video, I will show you how you can create rectangles in Solidworks. With the Rectangle tool, you can create either rectangles or parallelograms. There are 4 different methods to create a rectangle. In the following examples, I will explain these methods one by one. The Rectangle tool can be found in the Sketch ribbon. If I click on the arrow next to the rectangle icon, all the available options appear. In the first example, I will activate the Corner Rectangle tool. With this tool, you can create a rectangle by specifying 2 corners. I will click somewhere in the drawing area to specify the first corner of the rectangle. Next, I will move the cursor to the right and click again to specify the second corner. Now, if we go to the Property Manager palette, we can see that in the Parameters area, there are no length and width fields. To specify the dimensions of the rectangle, I have to deactivate the tool first. So I will press Escape, and then I will use the Smart Dimension tool. So once I activate the Smart Dimension tool, I will click on the rectangle's bottom side, and I will move my cursor downwards and click again to place a dimension. In the Modify field, I will type the desired length, which in this case is 15, and I will click on the check mark to change the dimension. At this point, the Smart Dimension tool remains active, so I will also change the width of the rectangle. To do this, I will click on the left side of the rectangle, move the cursor to the left, and click again to place this dimension too. In the Modify field, I will type 10 and then click on the check mark. Now that the dimensions of the rectangle have been corrected, I will press Escape to deactivate the Smart Dimension tool. The next method is the Center Rectangle. I will click on the arrow next to the rectangle icon and I will activate this tool. Now I will click somewhere in the drawing area to specify the center of the rectangle. Next, I will move the cursor and I will click once more to finally create the rectangle. If I go to the Property Manager palette, in the Parameters area, there is no length or width field again. To change the dimensions of the rectangle, I have to deactivate the Rectangle tool and activate the Smart Dimension tool like I did before. However, if you wish the center of the rectangle to remain in the same place, you have to select it and add the fixed relation before you change the dimensions. So I will press Escape to deactivate the tool. Then I will select the rectangle center, and from the Property Manager palette, I will add the fixed relation. I will click somewhere in the drawing area to deselect the center point, and then I will activate the Smart Dimension tool again. With the tool active, I will click on the bottom side of the rectangle, move downward, and click again to place a dimension. In the Modify field, I will type 10 and I will click on the check mark. Next, I will click on the rectangle's left side, move to the left, and click to place this dimension too. In the Modify field, I will type 20 and click on the check mark. As you can see, the dimensions of the rectangle changed, but its center remained in the same place. So I will press Escape to deactivate the Smart Dimension tool. In the next example, I will show you how the 3-point corner method works. So we'll activate the 3-point corner tool, and I will click somewhere in the drawing area to define the first point. Then I will move the cursor upwards and to the left, and I will click again to specify the slope of the rectangle. Finally, I will move the cursor to the right, and I will click again to finally create the rectangle. Now I can press Escape to deactivate the tool. At this point, I can specify the slope of the rectangle if I select its bottom side, go to the Property Manager palette, and change the value in the angle field. In this example, I will type 30 and press Enter. As you can see, apart from the angle field, when I select a single side of the rectangle, the length field appears too. So I can change the rectangle's dimensions from this field too. If, for example, type 25 in the length field and press Enter, apart from the selected side, the opposite side will change too. The reason this happens is that when you create rectangles, the parallel and perpendicular relations are added automatically. In the same way, I will change the rectangle's width to 18. Next comes the 3-point center method. This method is similar to the 3-point corner method. However, the first point that you define is the center point of the rectangle. So I will activate this option from the sketch ribbon, and I will click to specify the center of the rectangle. Next, I will move the cursor upward and I will click again to specify the slope and the half width of the rectangle. Finally, I will click again to create the rectangle. I will also press Escape to deactivate the tool, and I will move on to the next example. With the last option, you can create a parallelogram. I will activate the Parallelogram tool, and I will click to specify the first point of the parallelogram. Then I will move the cursor to the right and I will click again to specify the length of the parallelogram. Finally, I will move upwards and click again to specify the width as well as the angle of the parallelogram. Now that I have created the shape, I will press Escape to deactivate the tool. By selecting one of the sloped sides, the Property Manager palette activates. I can go to the angle field and change the slope. So I will type 55 and press Enter. Next, in the length field, I will type 15 and press Enter. Finally, I will select the bottom side and I will type 20 in the length field to change the length of this side too. So this was all the methods you can create a rectangle in Solidworks. I suggest that you create your own shapes and rectangles in order to become more familiar with these tools.